Hey friends, and welcome to another episode of the Soul CEO podcast. This is episode 34, and my name is Rachel Picard, and I am so excited to spend a very long weekend. It kind of feels so crazy. It's like 6 days without doing a podcast. I've kind of enjoyed it. We've had some family in town, and been working on a ton of projects in our network marketing business, and it's just been, so much fun. But back here today, and in today's episode 34, is all about emotional stability in leadership. And this is actually going to be a series that I'm going to be doing throughout the month of March, talking about how imperative it is to have the two kind of tandem brothers and sisters of emotional stability and emotional intelligence, and how through it you'll be able to gain so much more influence and effectiveness with leading the teams that you love. If you're brand new to the podcast, make sure that you hit subscribe. Oh, by the way, if you hear any snoring in the background, it's because my English bulldog is at my feet right now. So that is Shulgs. It's not my husband or somebody else falling asleep in here. But if you're brand new to the podcast, guys, hit subscribe. Make sure that you leave a 5-star rating and a written review. I know it takes a minute, but gosh, even one little, sentence, it makes such a difference for me, and I really appreciate it. And it boosts this podcast so that more people can find it, learn, and grow. And this podcast is free training, and ad-free, and I want to keep it that way. So I request that all of you guys are listening, that you promote it. You can also tag me on Instagram. My link is in the show notes. And if you ever want to connect with me as well, or email, all the details are in the show notes. So one of our subscribers says, before we get into today's training, lovely lady, on February 19th, she said, lovely lady, 5 stars. This woman is so motivating to hear. Lovely lady says that all I can say, the power of positive thinking has paid off. The power of prayer pays off. Rachel's an example of these things. She has pure joy and happiness, and she is not fake. She's the real deal. If you listen to her, she'll help you grow spiritually and help you build your business, or just to bring you joy in your life. You will not be disappointed. She truly makes me want to be a better human. She makes me want to have a better relationship with our Savior. Keep going, Rachel. The sky has not limits for you, my dear. You are such a talented woman. I'm so blessed to have you step into my life. Anyone that takes a journey with you, their life will change for the better. Lovely lady, you are lovely indeed. I really appreciate it. So guys, subscribe, rate, review, screenshot, tag, and share this with your teamies. And if you need anything from me, reach out. And if you want me to do a private training for your organization, like you're going to hear today, you can email me at asksoulceo@gmail.com. Put 25 people on a Zoom, and I am happy to oblige. Guys, let's roll into the training, talk all about emotional stability in becoming a more effective leader. Enjoy the show. With our conversation today, we are going to be starting an entire month-long training and a deep dive into emotional stability, which can be kind of like partnered, almost like identical twins, fraternal twins, Siamese twins, connected with emotional intelligence. And so when I think of them both as like buddies. I think of emotional stability as your internal ups and downs and your own internal growth. And then I think of emotional intelligence, how that reflects to others, right? That's how we actually deal with the people. So you guys got your pen and piece of paper? Do not trust I'd rather you trust a short pencil than a long memory. The best leaders are excellent students. So let's really dive into this. And I want you to know that I am going to share from my weaknesses. In fact, if you guys have been around me for more than most of you guys have been here in this coaching environment for now going on, 7 months now? Are we at like month 7? So I want to encourage you guys that I normally always tend to teach or preach from my weakness. And I heard a pastor say it once, if you preach from your weakness, you'll never lack content to preach. And so I want to share with you guys that this has been a wonderfully challenging muscle to grow. It has been painful and oh so rewarding. When you can start to develop a very strong muscle like courage, like discipline, all these things that we can grow, it is amazing. And I will say, guys, this is super important in 2021 because all of you are going to be where the Richards are at right now. In some month of this year, you're going to have a new crop of runners. It's the new school, the new class of 2021. And what you're going to be doing then is then you're going to be pouring into them, into your leadership development or your reproduction groups, and you're going to be kind of building up the layers of leadership. It is my goal, guys, that we have a very deep bench of leaders in Team Heart. How many of you guys want a deep bench of leaders in your team, right? So first we master ourselves. First we pour into ourselves. First we get really real with ourselves and our shortcomings and our weaknesses, and we work through that out, and then we help develop the people on our team. Now, I want to encourage you guys that everything I'm going to share with you this month, and especially in this training, when we're talking about emotional stability, it can be learned. It can be developed. And I think that so often, I know when I was new in leadership, I overestimated the change I could do for other people. I overestimated how much I could change others, and I underestimated how much I could change myself. We underestimate how we can really transform ourselves from the inside out, right? Leadership is an inside job. And I think once I began to understand that, oh wow, I really can't control other people, it brought freedom. That I can't really change them. I can inspire, I can influence, I can lead by example, but I can only do so much. But man, oh man, can I truly change myself if I underestimated it. Now, when we're talking about emotional stability, it is imperative because I've studied emotional intelligence for 8 years now. I'm a hard nut to crack. This is not an industry. We're talking about network marketing. We are not managers, and nobody is an employee. So therefore, guys, write this down. We lead a volunteer army. You lead a volunteer army, and how well you lead. My question is, how well do you lead when people don't have to follow? How effective is your leadership when people don't have to follow you? And when we look at to leading volunteers, you're going to need a high level of emotional stability and emotional intelligence, or what we call EQ. My dad, Papa Frida, would always say, your EQ is more important than your IQ. I'm like, because I'm not that smart. There's only so much you can do to change your IQ, but there is exponential growth you can do in your EQ. I'm so grateful for that. I had an amazing mentor call. Where's Steph? Steph was on the line. I had an amazing mentoring call with Steph, and we're strategizing her run, and wonderful woman, and talking about her goals this year, and she's like super excited. Like I'm teachable, I'm coachable. Tell me the strategy. And I started to encourage her. I was like, the good news is you've already mastered the basics. She's like, I know what the new people should do, but now what I should do. I was like, well, it's more of that. But it's less about any of the tactics or the skills. Most of you guys are not in need of more skill. Sure, you could learn TikTok. Sure, you could get a few new branding lessons. Sure, there's like some minute little open the month, close the month tactics of kind of managing a team and learning like a communication flow. Certainly, there's a few little tactics, a few. But really, more than anything, it's the emotional stability piece. It's the people skills. It is working with a diverse and ever-changing group of personalities. High EQ leaders, they perform better. Study after study after study, and this can be learned. I want to give you guys today, as we build this deeper bench of leaders and we build the emotional stability this month, I want to give you guys 3 things internally. 3 aspects of emotional stability that we can start to harness and develop and reflect upon. And the first one is self-awareness. Now, if you guys remember 7-8 months ago when we had our first Legends call, I said that the most successful leaders are self-aware. But what does that really mean? It means actually being aware of your mood, your drive, being aware of your emotions, and then also being aware of how they affect others. How does your mood, how does your attitude, how does your drive, how does your motivation, how does your feelings, how do they actually impact the people around you? That is self-aware. And it's always amazing to me that most of us, we do not have the ability to truly see ourselves. At least not as others see us. Most of us do not have the ability to truly see ourselves, especially as others see us. It's like the old quote of bad breath. You can smell it on everybody else, but you can't sense it on yourself. Most of us are challenged with the ability to really, but the funny thing is, we can see other people. Oh yeah, we can judge them. We see where they're going wrong. We see when they have attitude. We see when they're inconsistent. We see when they're negative, right? We see when they're going down a bunny rabbit hole of drama. We can see them, but we struggle. Most of us struggle with the ability. Because, write this down, we are blind to our own dysfunction. We are blind to our own dysfunction. This premise and this journey of starting on into better emotional stability, deeper emotional stability, broader emotional intelligence, it is visual. We have to become visual. That's what self-awareness is. Self-awareness is I can see myself in all my crap for who I am, what I do wrong. I know my weaknesses. And when you know your weaknesses, you can surround yourself with people, potentially in your team, potentially assistants, potentially outsourcing. You can start to kind of shore up the things around you. You can go and deep dive and study. If there's one area that you're become self-aware, you become visual, you see it glaringly staring you in the face, then you can so choose to tackle it. But if you walk around as a leader insanely blind to your own dysfunction, you're going to be repelling people just like the gnarly bad breath that you smell on everybody else. And the unfortunate part of it is if you are blind to it, if you are nose blind to your own dysfunction, and unfortunately sometimes even unwilling or uncoachable to hear about your dysfunction, you're going to maintain a struggle of constantly cycling through new distributors, through new leaders, because what did I tell you in January? In 6 months, your team knows you. They know you. So we got to shore up the inside. So what do I realize? People that are self-aware, their mood, their drives, their emotions, and how they affect other people, they have very realistic self-assessments. Very realistic. Case in point. I remember in my previous company, I shared with you that I used to yell at people. I'm so glad Lisa is not on camera because she would be just like kind of, because she knows that I would yell. And I'm not saying like this with a louder pitch. I am saying people would come onto a line and they would say, Lisa's like, who, me in the chat? Like Charlie, you probably were there trying to think of who else might have been on any of those calls that were a little aggressive. And I'm like, you said you wanted to build this business and you're not even showing up? Right? I would find myself in the same conflict with the same personalities over and over. I got the same feedback over and over from people about who I was and how I'd react. And one of the things I learned was that because of my red voice, right? The 4 colors, red, blue, green, and yellow, my red voice Because my tongue was not tamed, it was sharp. Now, there are times where we need to be in our red voice because maybe there's times where you need to be strong and confident, but controlled. But my insult-laden, ego-laden tongue was so strong that I had to self-assess, recognize that this was a weakness of mine and I needed to tame it. I needed to do the work. Most leaders who have a red personality will just say, well, they need to be stronger. Well, they need thicker skin. Okay, try that out in a volunteer army for the next 5 years, and let's talk about why you're stuck at Pro 5 still. Let me know how that goes for you in a volunteer army. That might work in corporate America, corporate Canada, corporate Australia, corporate UK, might work in Ireland when you have people that are suited underneath you and you can get away with being a little bit sharp or direct or rude or short-tempered or bossy or smothering or micromanaging. I ain't gonna fly here. We need to have an accurate self-assessment. I also noticed that in self-awareness that the leaders that have great self-awareness have a certain self-depreciating humor. Do you ever notice that? Like they don't take themselves too seriously. Here's a fun fact. Nobody takes you seriously. Not that seriously. So join the train. Jump on board. Just get real with yourself. Nobody really cares that much. No, they don't put you at that higher level. So you might as well just like poke fun at yourself, right? When I think about self-awareness, what does your team need from you? Let's talk about this. What does your team need from you? What are they desiring for you? What do they want you to see? What do they want to see? They want to see consistency. Consistency in 3 things. Consistency in your mood, consistency in your values, and consistency in your principles. When your mood is up and then it's down. Now, guys, we all can have a bad day. We all can have a moment. My amazing, God-fearing, patient, emotionally intelligent, hot husband understands that 1 day out of the month, I ride what I call the estrogen dragon. Lo siento, I'm sorry, I'm all like a girl talk here. There is a good 2 hours of that month where I go flaming purple. Anybody know what purple is? That is red and blue combined. Let's talk about red and blue combined. Red is dominant and blue is what? Servant, heart, bleeding, love, emotional. So when you are purple, what are you? You are ranting. You are inconsolable. I might cry sometimes. I have fears that are completely irrational for about 2 hours. Oh, dear Lord, that man, and especially because he seems to be like every other month. That man deserves a present. He gets plenty of presents and prizes and love and rewards for his patience with those 2 hours. So guess what? Those 2 hours, hell if I'm on a call. Oh, no. Heck if I am even near Messenger. Nerp. Take the phone away from me. That'll be the worst tongue, the worst reaction, right? It is self-awareness. So you know your moods. The good news is, majority of the other couple hundred hours, 600 hours of the month, maybe 500 a week, plenty stable, thankfully. You want your highs to be low and your lows to be high. We can't live every day in our moods at a 10 out of 10, elated, exuberant, celebratory, high on everything, like adrenaline. Wah. We can't live there. It would burn ourselves out. But we can't also live at a 4 or a 5. We can't be Eeyore. We can't be melancholy. Guys, settle at a 7. I'm gonna get on self-regulation next, but we're still on self-awareness. But your moods got to be consistent. When I talk about my first major boss, my bipolar boss in retail, her inconsistency of moods, now it was probably chemically related. She had a lot of stuff going on. She's actually clinically bipolar. But because I didn't know what I was going to get every day, it drove me out of work. It drove me out of that job. And I had accepted that job on a massive pay raise, and I transformed that store from 18,000 a month in sales to 32,000 a month in 90 days. And I was gone in a few months because I just couldn't even handle it. Guys, just on a side note, I want you guys to write this down. In network marketing especially, people don't leave companies. They leave leaders. They leave uplines. I'll rephrase this. People don't quit companies. They quit their upline. For the most part. There was a study done, and it was a huge study, tens of thousands of people in the US, and they asked why they ever quit a job, how many times, like employment study. And it said 70% of employees quit their previous job, because of their manager. How many guys raise your hand if you've ever quit your job because of a manager, right? Patty's like, yes. Eric's like, yes. Tanya, yeah. Brett's like, hello. Charlie, Gwen, right? And Melissa's like, aha, it's me. I did it. 70%. So if you burned through distributors and you're burning through leaders, if you're not creating those long-term relationships, that instead of moving from the blame game and saying, well, it's because of him, or it's because of her, it's because of the company, it's because of this is a time for self-awareness. This is a time for self-reflection. And it might be our moods, 2 values, 3 principles. We want to see the consistent, like what you say is what you do, your integrity. They want to see you actually like walk your talk. If I say that everyone matters, and then I'm like, oh, they can't join the team because of XYZ. Well, they can't join the team because they got purple hair. You're like, well, Rachel, I thought everyone matters, right? I mean, just like stupid example. They want to see consistency there. And self-awareness, the most self-aware leaders, this is huge. They are willing to address weaknesses. Write this down. Without defensiveness. Self-aware leaders are willing to address their weaknesses without defensiveness. Now, when I was a punk kid millionaire and I started to hear that my tongue was red and sharp and nasty, and I was learning, and it was actually Tara. Shout out to Tara Wilson, was one of the first persons to tell me that my behavior and my leadership style was inappropriate. It was painful, it was destructive, and it was a weakness, and it was a blind spot for me. And I remember the first time or 2, maybe 3, that I heard it, and I was like, no! You don't understand. But if you don't understand why I was like that. Let me give you the documented list of A to Z of exactly why I responded in such a way. I have my case all done because I should have been a lawyer. I had my whole deposition. I had Exhibit A. Let me examine evidence B of why I was a bitch on this call. Oh, I'm the only one that's ever done that. I remember the first times I was like super defensive of it. And then conviction. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. So grateful for the conviction. And ultimately, I got so sick of the same drama. I became so unhappy with how I made others feel and ultimately how I felt. For things to change, something has to change in me. We need to be willing to address our weaknesses and our shortcomings. See, this is it. It's, write this down, maturity plus feedback plus the willingness to change. That's the magic. That's the magic. It's maturity. This is when we grow into self-aware leaders. It's maturity. It is the feedback from others. We need to surround ourselves with people to give us feedback. Why do you keep Tara in your life? Well, she's the CEO. I'm always going to have fun. Why do I keep? Because Tara's told me things that I didn't want to hear. And it made me better. So the next time somebody you love and respect that's in your inner circle that tells you and gives you feedback, before you respond in defensiveness, reflect, take a holy pause and say, where is there truth to this? Now, I've gotten plenty of criticism that had no merit. Oh yeah, you guys have all had the haters. You've had critics in your life. I've had gaslighting. I've had narcissists say things to me that is completely off the reservation. And I take a moment, I reflect, I try to, okay, all right, whew, that was tough. I'm trying to swallow it. Is there any truth to it? No, that person is psycho. Control-Alt-Delete, send to the trash box. I'm not even going to read that again. Block, move on, right? I mean, it's like, sometimes it's out of nowhere. But most of the time, if it's somebody that we care about, they are seeing something in you and they are going to bravely and courageously tell you, you don't really realize this, but your breath stinks. And when I mean your breath stinks, they say, you're being arrogant, or you're being negative, or you're being catty, or you're gossiping, or whatever it is. Or you're being rude. Whatever. We all have our little thing. We all have our shtick. We all have our weakness. Okay. Second, so it's number one, self-awareness. Number two is self-regulation. I'm asked all the time, what is the hardest thing in my leadership? And what is the hardest thing in leading a team of 70,000? What is the hardest thing that you've done, Rachel, in 15 years in this industry, 10 years at leading at a high level? What is the hardest thing in leadership? Oh, it's so easy. Leading myself. To this day, it's not leading one of my elites. It's not leading legends. The hardest thing that I do, the hardest person to lead is myself. Now, self-regulation is really important when we're talking about becoming an emotionally stable leader. When we think about self-regulation, write these words down. It is the ability to control or redirect disruptive impulses and moods. When we go high, we can pull it back. When we go low, we can pull it back up. It's our ability to control or redirect those disruptive impulses and also suspend judgment. On my first podcast, I talked about taking a holy pause. The ability to self-regulate, we suspend judgment for a moment. It's the discipline of holding our tongue. In the moments when we are offended, the moment that somebody comes against us, the moment that somebody disappoints us, the moment that we didn't get our way, it's our ability to regulate it. There are some leaders that are professional moaners. They don't regulate their moods because they're moaning. But guys, emotionally stable leaders, they don't waste time feeling sorry for themselves. There are some leaders that I think their theme song should be, nobody knows the trouble I've seen. That is some people's theme song. But guess what? You can choose to be a moaner, or you can choose to be a leader. Now, everyone has their bad days. Some of it's hormonal. Hello, estrogen dragon. But sometimes we're actually going to have really bad days. We're going to have disappointments. We're going to have failures. We're going to have people that we're going to have. I even dealt with this recently. My husband had one of those days where every single thing, personally and professionally, it was just one of those days where you kind of feel like you just got shat on. You know, we have those days. My question to you, what's your recovery time? Self-regulation is all about your recovery time. When you lose, Ivy shared early on the call, she, in self-assessment and self-awareness, got challenged by Taylor Worry. What did she do on that second challenge? She shut down, right? How many of you guys admit that you would shut down ever in a challenge, right? You get a challenge and you just shut down. You fail, you shut down. You get rejected, you shut down. It's a natural protective instinct. My question to you is, what do you decide will be your recovery time? Is your recovery time, is it going to be a week? You going to drag it out that long? Is it going to be a day? Maybe a day. Maybe give yourself 24 hours. If you got the worst news in the world, give yourself 24 hours to moan and groan and feel it. Call everybody and talk about it. I don't care. And then you're over it. And then the same thing with celebration or success. You have this amazing epiphany, this incredible victory. Give yourself 24 hours and then move on. Don't keep riding the high of that win. Go do it again. I think about the famous quote from Og Mandino, and it reminds me of self-regulation. If you've not read Og Mandino, he's got so many good scrolls. He says, how do I change? Just how do I self-regulate? How do I grow? He goes, how do I change? If I feel depressed, I will sing. If I feel sad, I will laugh. If I feel ill, I will double my labor. If I feel fear, I will plunge ahead. If I feel inferior, I will wear new garments. If I feel uncertain, I will raise my voice. If I feel poverty, I will think of the wealth to come. If I feel incompetent, I will think of past successes. If I feel insignificant, I will remember my goals. Today, I will be the master of my emotions. If I feel insignificant, I will remember my goals. Self-regulated leaders with emotional stability, they don't waste their time or feelings or things on the things that they can't control. I think about all of the things that I would change about my business, about our company, about our systems, about the economy, about politics, about mandates, I think about all the things I would do better. And then I'm always smack dab, boom, back to reality. I can't change any of that. I can vote. Will the vote count? I mean, what can I can call, I can write a letter. I've even tried it in several companies with corporates. I've written letters. I've written manifestos. I've asked for conference calls. I've pleaded. I've ignored. I've begged. I've all caps emails. I've tried it all. And sometimes I'll get a little inch. I'll get a little movement. But most of the time I realize, again, I really overestimate how much I can change other people and I can control other people and other things. But I can control myself. Self-regulated leaders don't give away their time. They don't let weaker relationships take their time or their priorities or their peace or their potential or their passion or their calling. They don't give that away. They regulate that themselves. It's an inside job. I don't allow often, it's like in parentheses, asterisks, little italicized. I don't often let external things affect my peace, my passion, my calling, my time, my priorities. In the beginning, I was always influenced. Now, not so much. It's a muscle that you grow. Number 3, self-awareness, number 1, self-regulation, number 2, number 3 of emotional and creating that emotional stability. When I see emotional stable leaders, they are highly motivated. They are highly motivated. They are highly inspired. I think about the Richards and they're pushing through for now 6 months to hit pay dirt. And never once did they show pessimism in the face of failure. Emotional stable leaders are optimistic even in the face of failure. I think about the great apostle Paul, who talks about the 3 virtues. Do you know what they are? Faith, hope, and love. So much of what Team Heart stands for, so much of what we do. We constantly talk about the H's, right? We talk about humor, heart, hope, help. We're always talking about those things. But I think about those 3 things. Are you leaving?
I'm so sorry.
Come in. This is my mother-in-law. She's just leaving to the airport. This is Wendy. You want to say hi to my leaders?
Oh, hi everybody.
This is Wendy. Look at it. Hi,
Hello.
Wendy.
Hello,
Wendy's been here
everybody.
since Friday. Love you to pieces.
You guys are so lucky to have her.
Aw,
Anyway, thank you, darling.
I'm lucky for you and your son. He'll be here
Bye,
soon.
everybody.
They're going to cross in the air right now. She's going back to Minneapolis.
Nice to meet you all.
Yeah. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Wen. Love you.
See ya. Thank you.
Oh, love you so much. Let me know you land okay.
Okay.
And now the dogs are, oh, puppers. Okay, so what was I saying? Remind me what I said. What was I talking about? Optimistic in the face of failure. What else? What was the last words I said?
Our 4 hearts.
Oh, yeah. So helpfulness and humor and, all that sort of stuff. It is very, 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 keep going on. Bring me back. I know where I was going with this. I just got full distracted saying goodbye to her. Team Heart.
Faith, hope, and love.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yes, that was it. Faith, hope, and love. That was it. Oh, man, I wish I had my notes here from my spiritual practice the other day. I was thinking about how important all 3 are. It is in order to have faith allows us to not live in the past of our past burdens and our past issues and our past brokenness, right? Faith allows us to do that. Hope allows us to look towards the future. And then love keeps us present and focused of what we can do. And I was just kind of thinking about all of the things as like highly motivated leaders, what they do. They're optimistic. They have faith. They have hope. They know that things can improve. They're forward focused. They're not looking at the previous 6 months of MVPs and no pay dirt. They're not looking at 3 years that's stuck at a rank. They're not counting all of the times that they are constantly failing and just like beating themselves up or beating their team up. They're like, no, it's going to get better. This is the month. Today's the day. Let's go. They're highly motivated. They got something inside. Highly motivated leaders, and in closing this, they fight personal complacency. Personal complacency is the success disease. It's the number one thing that all of us, individually and together as a team, must fight if we want to take this team to the next level. Complacency or the success disease sets in the moment that we begin to feel good about what we've done and who we are. Gwen said, my failure was I hit MVP, but I didn't hit it a second time. I didn't go double MVP. And I said, okay, you hit MVP, but then did you go to bed? Did you take off? Did you sleep in? Did you stop contacting? She goes, no. I just couldn't convert them. Well, that's not of your making. You sow the seeds, the harvest will reap. So Patty just saw five customers in a week. Sow the seeds, the harvest will reap. Complacency is I hit MVP and now I'm going to rest on my laurels. Complacency is I qualified for Wanderlust and now I'm going to coast. Complacency is I did it once and now I'm going to tell the story. This is where moral authority comes in. But when we think about emotional stability, creating a deeper bench, making a difference in the people that we are leading, and the demand of us to have a high EQ, We've got to be self-aware. We've got to look at our moods, our drives, what sets us off, what takes us down, what takes us out. How does that affect other people? We have to see and hear and sense when we have those disruptive impulses, and we need to control them. We need to own them. And then we have to develop that fire, that white internal fire of motivation. I always say, guys, I will never be here to motivate you. I'm here to inspire you. Inspiration, hopefully, my prayer is that it gives you lasting change. Motivation, you're going to feel good. But motivation has to come from within. If it is external motivation, if I motivate you, you're going to feel good, and then tomorrow you'll have no idea why. But inspiration, that's what goes to the change.